So yeah, guys, this is, I think, episode 4 or 5 of the podcast. We don't really want to keep track on here because this is a longer term project, the Scout Report, the one and only, I think, Call of Dragons podcast that you can find on YouTube, where we try and find guests that are interesting and try and open different topics of conversation that you guys, the viewers, hopefully will find interesting. So today we have a very special guest. We have one of the biggest supporters of the channel. A lot of people will know him in the live chat. And this is Meliodas from S203. How you doing, my dude?
Pretty good, pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, man, I've had a hectic day, but we are ready to basically crack on with it, you know, as you can imagine. So a lot of people, I was gonna say, a lot of people. Pardon?
I said you and me both. Go ahead.
A lot of people would have, are probably might wonder who you are, right? So some people who are rewatching this maybe for the first time might be wondering who is Meliodas. We know he's from server 203 in HVC, but what does that all mean? Do you want to give the viewers a quick background check of yourself?
Sure. I'm Meliodas from server 203. This is my first server in Call of Dragons. I came from Guns of Glory and King of Avalon, where I was also a known name over there for spending entirely too much money. But as long as the game is fun, who cares?
Sorry, that just was known for spending too much as well over there.
Oh, 100%. I could probably buy a small house with the amount of money that I've spent on video games in the past 5 years.
Oh my, oh my. So that basically gives you a perspective, guys. We are basically, and this is kind of what I think is a special one for today's podcast, because we're kind of speaking to, you know, a big spender in mobile gaming. So it's a different point of view and perspective to the games as well, how they approach it, how they, like, why they invest into it as well, which we'll go into later down the line when we eventually hit that topic. So I hope you guys are going to be looking forward to it. And again, if you've got any questions, if you are during obviously the live stream of this podcast, just whack them in the chat and we'll try and get them involved. So you played Kings of, was it Avalon?
Yeah, King of Avalon.
So was that like your last game you played, or was it Guns of Glory you played last?
They were both at the same time. So just like Rise of Kingdoms and Call of Dragons are extremely similar, the way that Guns of Glory and King of Avalon worked is King of Avalon would always have the new updates, the new features. So, for example, imagine like Dragon Trail just got revamped. That would be released in King of Avalon about 3 months before Guns of Glory saw that feature added. So it was a good way to stay in the loop of what was about to happen and prepare yourself for the people that were just ignorant and not knowing that something new is coming.
Okay, interesting. So what is there any similarities that, you know, from playing maybe like Kings of Avalon to maybe Call of Dragons that you've seen, or are they like kind of completely different games in the aspect of, you know, just gameplay wise?
So gameplay wise, the only thing that is similar is that they're both castle building games. Aside from that, Call of Dragons is way better. The infield fighting is just a complete game changer. That didn't exist in King of Avalon or Guns of Glory. You literally just saw your march going in line to wherever the attack destination was, and then upon a 3-second delay, which is when that algorithm is deciding all of the turns in the battle and stuff like that, you just get a battle report. You don't actually get any of the visuals that you get in Call of Dragons.
Wow, that's crazy. I know I used to play something similar back in the day. I think it was called March of Empires. So I think it probably ran on the same battle system on that, and that's one of the reasons I think, you know, I went to Rise of Kingdoms. So a lot of people who know me personally before I became like a creator for the YouTubes. They knew me from Rise of Kingdoms. I played Rise of Kingdoms for quite a while, and then it sold me because, like you said, that combat system was so unique. And then Call of Dragons has adopted obviously the same combat systems. It's made by the same game. Is that basically one of the main reasons why you play Call of Dragons, or have you got other reasons why you like it?
So I will say one of the reasons that I invested so much money into this game was the combat system. This is a work of art. This is so much fun compared to the satisfaction and the monetary satisfaction alone of how much I'm spending to how many hours I'm logged in playing. Call of Dragons it beats all of the games. It's not even a competition.
Yeah, I do. I must agree, because I'm not gonna lie, I've been playing different, games as well. Like, I've been trying other games. I've tried, like, Age of Titans, which is a newer one. We've been playing Era of Conquest 2. Don't get me wrong, we enjoy Era of Conquest on here. We kind of love the game, but it still isn't the same as playing Call of Dragons, or even, like, Rise of Kingdoms. Like, though, that gameplay is so smooth, especially when it comes to, like, the artifacts, right? When you're using the artifacts and you're changing, depending, like, if you've got Viola's bow, which has, like, that utility input, or if you're using, like, dragon scale armor to help the front line. Like, all these kind of, actually, you feel the impact when you start using them, and I kind of like the visual of them, too. Is there any other reasons you like Call of Dragons, or is there... I know there's some reasons that I know you'd probably improve, which we'll get to.
So, I would say that one of my favorite things about Call of Dragons is it keeps us spenders in check. So, in my previous games, if I wanted to drop $10,000 in a single day, I could do that. The packs were there. But in Call of Dragons, I am quite literally limited to how many things I can buy a day, and the packs are, well, there are good packs, and then there are packs that are just not worth the money. So it keeps us spenders and the free-to-play players and the low spenders all within a certain range to where pay-to-win players like myself don't just completely blow everybody out of the water. In Guns of Glory, I've seen... it mainly happens when we get invaded by the Koreans, because I don't know the exchange rate or whatever's going on over there, but they would come into our server and within 24 hours create new accounts that were just... they beat all of us in a single day. And Call of Dragons limits that, which I love. It's a little annoying at times when I'm trying to get something new and shiny, but I do appreciate the fact that it keeps me in check, and it keeps the free-to-play players and the low spenders able to be competitive.
Yeah. So is there any other mechanics you like which you feel keeps spenders in check when it comes to, like, Call of Dragons compared to other games?
I think it's mostly just the packs being limited that keeps us in check. But as far as different features that I enjoy, this Forged of Light event, I love it and I hate it. The RNG for these things is just astronomical. There will be times where I will get everything that I want in 4 turns, and then other times I have to spin it 50 times.
Right. See, some people would say, I don't know, would you say the stamina system feels like a crutch to you, or do you feel like there, especially in Season 2, with the runic statues, you get enough stamina back that you feel like it's not an issue anymore?
You know, it's funny that you should mention stamina. And before I start this, I'm going to give a shout out to our friendly rivals in Season 2 right now, which is the Immortal Empire. They have gotten me for the first time to run out of stamina. Before, we just entered Zone 4, and we're at this little pass right now to where we're both bottlenecked, and we can only fight in this little cubby corner that we're both stuck at. But this is the first time that I've actually run out of stamina, because we have just been going at it for hours now. So the stamina can be a little, it's a little annoying right now that I can't do anything and all I see is fatigued. And I'm not sure why, but Season 1 we never ran into this problem. I don't know if we just weren't warring as hard or what. But the Immortal Empire guys, they are very proficient at getting everyone together, and they're baiting all of these fights between us. And it's annoying, but I admire it. They're good. They are worthy rivals, that's for sure.
So, have you got obviously we've talked about your mobile background. Have you played any, like, for example, I played, you know, like World of Warcraft and League of Legends and other games like that. Have you played any other games like that as well in the past where you feel like maybe Call of Dragons has taken certain inspirations from?
I played World of Warcraft about 10 years ago, back when it was, I wouldn't say in its height, but back when it had a larger platform than it does now. I'd say Call of Dragons shares some of the same raid components, but it's hard to compare the two types of games. League of Legends, I love League of Legends, but I'm absolute trash. I get stomped on all the time.
I love it. Yeah, no, because I do get some similarities from it, you know, when we've had other people on in the past, you know, they speak about how, you know, they play, for example, 5 ranged, like, cavalry with the Spring Wardens, you know, they use as much mobility as they can to try and actually kite in and out very similarly to what you would do in League of Legends as like an AD carry, which is really cool. As well as obviously the raids. The raids I always think are the closest thing to, as you can imagine, like a World of Warcraft raid, but way less intense to what is required of you when you get into those types of situations, right?
Yeah, if you had the same mechanics that some raid bosses in World of Warcraft, it would literally require a server like yours or a server like 32 before the migration to be able to. That almost requires Discord or some form of voice chat just to be able to pull that stuff off. I mean, at the level of behemoths that we're at right now, the Season 2 behemoths are substantially more difficult than Season 1. Season 1, we bulldozed through all of them, and half the time we could just DPS them down without even running through all of the mechanics. But let me tell you, we struggled for the Elite Bear. It was a race between us and the Immortal Empire. And the sheer amount of times that we just had to try that for the very first behemoth in Season 2, it was comical.
That's funny. Yeah, because it is weird. It is weird when we go into, like, I don't know, because I've not had a stamina issue either season. So it sounds like, to be fair, your opponents this season's giving you definitely a more fight, which I love. And I hope as well, because obviously, as we know now, you know, Season 2 Plus is on its way around the corner after we've finished this Season 2 for everyone. I'm hoping, as you can imagine, like they did for Season 1 and Season 1 Plus, that we don't have to obviously de-miss the whole thing again, because that would be really good, because it means someone like myself can actually watch you guys in this fight, because that's the one problem I know a lot of content creators are currently running into the problem with, where we really want to watch you guys fighting in all these different zones, but the fact that we have to keep defogging everything again, it's just such an absolute pain. But talking about,
it would be nice if we had a feature where you could spectate.
Yeah, like we was talking about like a spectate feature for like obviously like Roots of War, and it's funny because like I'm sure in Rise of Kingdoms there is a spectate feature. I'm sure you can search other kingdoms in Rise of Kingdoms and look at what their current KVK situation is, and then obviously just spectate and watch it. So it's interesting that they've not allowed that on here. Maybe they're gonna do it after we've completed technically Seasons 1, 2, and 3, because that was normally a feature that got added later on in Rise of Kingdoms towards when they made Season of Conquest and all the different Season of Conquest features that you fight into. So I do have obviously hope, because I know how Rise of Kingdoms, that development path was, and obviously Call of Dragons has taken the same approach. So what I was going to lead into was, obviously we know some of, obviously, well, we know what's happened with Season 2 Plus now. Have you got any thoughts to what are some of your favourite changes on Season 2 Plus?
Well, I like the changes that they're making to the artifacts, but I'm taking all of their changes with a grain of salt. I think that Season 2 needs to... The map could use a little bit of work. I like that they included all of these checkpoints and stuff like that, but a checkpoint at every single corner, I think that it's a little bit much. They should expand some parts of it to where we can decide, do we want to have this battle in one of these choke point areas where we can stage there and be ready for that kind of fight, or do we just want to go into an open field and go duke it out? But a lot of these terrain features in the new zones, they just prevent that. So I think that it's a little bit limiting.
Yeah, and I agree. I wish it was weird because a lot of players agreed they didn't want the Zone 1 push feature, but I don't know if they wanted that feature all the way through, because obviously, like, originally I think players wanted it to feel safe so they could obviously experience the season, but now they've run into that problem where majority of players all agree, like, if you can't invade, there's like no real fighting until like the end of the season, which is kind of causing a lot of players to almost fall a bit bored, if you want to say, you know, which is unfortunate about it. So I hope with this, you know, Season 2 Plus, with the new map change, that's the hope, you know, making it so you as an alliance don't feel as restricted. That's one of the biggest things I think a lot of players have all, again, agreed, just like the map's just too tiny, it's too claustrophobic to build into, especially in the last zone. So is there anything that I was gonna say, is there anything in Season 2 Plus though that you didn't like the look of? You know, is there anything that you was like, I kind of wish they kept this in, or I wish they added something else in instead?
Nothing comes to mind at the moment. What I do hope, and I'll have to go over the Season 2 Plus notes again, because I'm not sure if they addressed this or not. So the main problem that I think that Season 2 had is I lost track of how many days into the season we're at now, but this, starting yesterday, was when our Zone 4 opened up, and this is the first time that we've actually gotten a fight against our rivals outside of the statues. And the statues, while the event itself is cool, it's very limiting in only being able to use one march and the going and back and forth. So I think that they, and you can tell me if they've already addressed this, I'm not sure, but I think that they need to make it quicker in the season for us to be able to have those all-out wars, if that's what we want. I didn't join the game to play Farmville for a month and a half and then have 3 weeks of fun, you know what I mean? So they should absolutely have a safe area for the farmers to play. If that's your playstyle, I'm not going to knock you. That's what brings you happiness in the game, go for it. But for those of us that play war games to engage in war, they shouldn't make us wait for a month and a half, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that is what a lot of players have asked for, and I hope, I don't know, you know, with this season, they've introduced this new mechanic called, like, the Mysterious Spire, which is supposed to help launch attacks on your enemies, but we don't know what that means. They've not really showcased the building. We've seen, you know, video footage of it in the new like video Call of Dragons have made, but it didn't showcase how you launched attacks. It just showcased what the building looked like as a visual, which didn't really help anyone, especially when you read the mail, and the mails are a little bit vague too, and people are wondering, is it going to be something that just helps you launch attacks in that zone? Is it going to be something like I hope, where it lets you launch attacks into the enemy zone, but obviously you can't, you know, like, take control of land, because obviously you don't have any flags or territory in there, so it makes it just more of an invasion. So obviously with the new past meta, if you want to say. You know, you can technically lose, but you can still send your farm killers in their zone, for example. At least this Spire might combat that, but apart from that, I don't know. Maybe the new map changes might address it too. This is the one thing which is a bit weird, where the Season 2 Plus patch actually has quite a lot of stuff involved, and they've added more as well, as some players have found in-game that they didn't even mention, right, in the patch notes. And the thing is, it's like they're vague on a lot of stuff, and we're trying to figure out what it means, but they're still not willing to give us just some basic fundamental concepts of how it works, right? So I think sadly we're going to have to wait on the Spire mechanic and how they've changed the map, because I think those two changes, as well as obviously the rally meta being what people say fixed, as well as the hero resets to level 30, all of this is kind of promoting earlier game fighting. So maybe they're allowing the map to fight earlier. Who knows? Who knows? So yeah. Let me have a quick look. I was going to say, so obviously we know about, and it's kind of been a hot topic in a lot of servers. I don't know if it's been in your server during seasons, but obviously we know about as well, like the term coined, you know, the betrayal meta, where a alliance might be on the losing side of a alliance partnership, you know, as a union, for example, and then mid-season they've switched obviously camps and have gone to the winning side and backstabbed your enemy, right? So we know in Season 2 Plus they've addressed that with the Truce Zone and the Resurgence mechanics. Obviously I know you're probably going to say this is a good feature, but I'd like just to hear your thoughts on it, because I know with the Truce Zone I've got my own opinions on it, which I think people might like to hear as well afterwards, but I'd like to hear what you think about the new Truce Zone coming into Call of Dragons.
Sure. So to start with, I'm just going to say I completely disagree with Chisle. I think that the betrayal meta and all of this stuff, this is a natural part of these games. I don't think that they should limit you being able to resurge to another area and join another alliance. If anything, the impact that you face on resurgence is already astronomical. If you don't do it in the first couple of days, but if you do it halfway through the season, that is a heavy hit for you to come back from. So the penalty is there. And what this comes down to, in my opinion, is, do you like who you're playing with? You know, sometimes you don't fully know, or you may have disagreements. And if you think of your alliance as a boyfriend or girlfriend, you're going to get into fights. You're not always going to be happy with each other. And there might be greener grass somewhere else. And you should absolutely have that freedom to go to somewhere else that does meet your requirements or meets the things that you're looking for to be a happy player. Because if you start limiting that and telling me, okay, well, I started in Sclera and I was part of HVC, and I cannot go to any alliance outside of my starting zone, well, that right there, I could quit or start in a new server just purely out of unhappiness. And now we're talking about all of that devoted time that I spent building up that account is just a waste. And I think that would be an absolute shame. People should be able to play with whoever they want, and I think that the Resurgence feature is a good and viable option. There is a penalty that goes along with it, so people aren't using it all willy-nilly. There's a cooldown for it. So I think the Call of Dragons did good with their Resurgence feature. So as far as the betrayal meta goes, there are some people that are going to betray you just because they want to be on the winning team. There are other people that are going to betray you because they don't like the way that you're operating the alliance. And that's just the natural order of things. You know, I would say that all of the people in my alliance, Havoc Unleashed, I would like to think that our morale is probably at 80% on any given day. There are so many messages and so many politics that I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and it is just impossible to keep 180 people happy. There is absolutely no way that I am not going to piss somebody off with one of my choices. So what it comes down to is that balancing act. And I treat all of my members with respect, and I'm sure that the majority of my server will tell you that I'm a happy-go-lucky guy and I don't lose my temper or yell at people. But even saying that, I don't blame people. If we've had a few people go, they waited for the pass to open and now they're going over to the other alliance, Immortal Empire. And we've had a couple of their guys come over to us. And everybody's different. Everybody works differently. So I think the betrayal meta is... I don't think that we can attribute what happened to Chisle's server to everybody. Because, let's be real, server 32 is not a normal server. That is a 1 in 5,000 server. The amount of spenders that they have all in one place right there, that kind of behavior is bound to happen. They're there for a reason. They're cutthroat. They're there to win. So, betrayal meta, in the normal servers, like mine, where we have a few whales, we have a few mid spenders, a few low spenders, and then the majority of people are all free-to-play players. We're not seeing the same type of betrayal that Chisle has. Right. And that's just, like I said, it's when you play in such a competitive server like they created when they all said, okay, let's go in here gung-ho and have the top 300 players all busting out $10,000 in a week. That is bound to happen. Everybody there is there for a mission. Yeah. So I just don't think that it's fair to correlate a Chisle server with the normal. I don't know about every server, but I'll say in my server, there really isn't any betrayal meta. And anybody that has jumped ship and gone to the other team, sure, it pissed some people off, and some people are a little bit more vocal than other people, but aside from the, oh, well, you did this, you did that, there's not really that big of an issue with it. It gets fought on for a day, and then it's yesterday's news. So yeah. I just don't see the big betrayal meta being as big as Chisle is making it out to be.
So basically, what you're trying to say, and I kind of actually would agree with it, because I had the same kind of, you know, way of thinking where I said, in the majority of cases where I would say, if you imagine a kingdom like my kingdom in server 1/2 now, or server 32, server 33, like these big kind of Titan servers, you would see it more often, because obviously, as you said, like there's so many more people spending money. So you're basically suggesting, because there's more money involved, there's more almost potential of it happening, right? Because obviously people don't want their almost like investment to be lost or not worth it, I'm guessing, right? In almost that term. That's the way I was looking at it, because I was saying, like, on a lower level, on most cases, I don't see it that harsh. Not as bad as, like, they got it. You know, don't get me wrong. I know some servers have been betrayed in the past. And I know some servers, obviously, you know, have vocalized their opinions on being betrayed in the past. But I don't think, though, they've been betrayed as, you know, harshly as it's been obviously thrown around YouTube with the server 32 drama that's been covered on like so many different YouTube channels, right, including even my own, right? So it is interesting, because like I think this is a hot topic where I think even in chat people are agreeing, some people are disagreeing, and you can see them like agreeing at certain times and then disagreeing even at certain points. So it's like where I think people have their own opinion on it, where, you know, it's just like, I find it the most interesting part. And it's like you said, you know, it is, sadly, you know, it is a war game, and some people might just say it is part of the game, you know. At the end of the day, if they're just thinking about themselves and their own alliance, that's, you know, that's their prerogative, right? That's their play style. That's how, if they want to play, that's how they want to play. So Interesting. I think that has got everyone fired up, you know.
Yeah, and
In
so
chat.
just to add one more thing, I love Chisle. He's the king of Call of Dragons. Everybody knows this. But just to go into one more part about server 32 pretty much being its own beast. So when in a normal server, when you decide on being allies with somebody, it's generally done over a chat bubble, and it's probably 10 to 20 different sentences, and then bam, all right, we both agreed that we're allies, let's update our boards, blah blah blah. But I don't know if you watched the video, but Chisle's alliance agreement with the Dragon family initially, that thing looked like a freaking legal document. I mean, the amount of time that he put into that agreement, I was just like, holy wow. That was intense. So I understand his passion,
Yeah,
but
man.
like I was saying, that was its own beast. He literally had a legal document. That thing should have been notarized. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's the thing though, right? And the thing is, I think a lot of people don't realise, especially, and I would say if you're like with Dragon family or anyone in the future as well, that might be, in a division against or with server 32, or shall we say now, I think they're in server 53 or 43, I forgot which one they're in. The BD Alliance, because I know they migrated out, and I know Dragon family migrated out since obviously all of this that's happened. But I think a lot of people should know by now, Chisle is the Rise of Kingdom guy, right? He's the one that has been playing Rise of Kingdoms basically since the beginning. He was the biggest content creator from the beginning of it. He was the first one to do it. He grinded his time. He did the work, and obviously he's at the top, right? As you said, he is the king of basically almost like 4X mobile gaming in the genre. So, like you said, if you're gonna get into an agreement with them, you should expect, this guy's been around long enough that agreement is gonna be solid. So you best make sure you've read that up to the fine print. That's not probably in there.
100%.
Right. So with that, we've obviously, let's talk a bit more about Season 2 Plus, because I think a lot of people would like to hear what's your thoughts on the two new heroes, right? Are you excited about either of them? Are you excited about more than one, more than the other? What's your thoughts on them? Do you want to talk about individually, or I'll let you go. So you got your Skullgirl and is it Goresh?
So honestly, I find Infantry underwhelming. So am I going to buy them? Of course, just because I'm a collection type of person, I have to have all of the shiny things. Am I going to invest money or time into them? Absolutely not. I run 2 mage units, 2 archers, and 1 infantry. Generally, that's my go-to 5 march, but I swap out infantry for my cavalry march on an as-needed basis. But the role of infantry is to just stand there and not die. I don't care about skill damage. I don't care what you're doing. I want you at the front lines to protect the rest of my troops, and I want you to stay alive for as long as possible. And my Madeline Garwood, there's absolutely no reason or justification for me to stray away from them. So concerning the new heroes, unless they do something astronomical and I see evidence of this, I'm not going to waste my money.
Right, that's interesting.
I think that what they should have done was they should have released mages before infantry, because if you just look at the different numbers, mages are the ones that are lacking. You have Lilia and you have Velen, and that's it. So all of the other people, you have archers, you have what, four legendaries now. Cavalry, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. Infantry, you had 3 legendaries. So the mages are the only ones that are lacking here. I should be able to run all legendary marches, but I'm stuck running Lilia Alwyn and Velen Waldir because the options just aren't there. So now I'm going to have to wait until Season 3 just to really get the march that I'm looking for.
Yeah, it is weird. It's interesting too, though, because I have an opinion on it. I do wish, and I kind of think they've messed up on it, though, on the whole Season 2 Plus, because I honestly thought with the Q&A, discussions that they were hinting out with the new faction, I thought in this season we were going to get as well, the new faction. So we would see the fact that we can play in Season 2 Plus this new Dwarven faction, meaning we might get a new mage epic, but hopefully we got another legendary, gold key commander for mages. Because the thing is with the whole thing about getting the mage heroes first over the infantry heroes, I know everyone would like that to happen, but you've got to think in the longevity of the game. They have obviously agreed that they're going to be making more factions in Call of Dragons, which means no matter what, at Season 1 when you play, you might have 6-7 different factions to play with, meaning there's going to be at least another 4-5, legendary commanders from the beginning to play with. Meaning, again, you should have all of the basic infrastructure, so then when we go into Season 2 and Season 3, we have that double pairing of the new, cavalry and infantry, mage, and, the cycle that they're in right now. Because the problem, what I said, was if you introduced the mage heroes first right now, it would be good, because obviously the mage players would love it. Mage players would be happy and you get more mage pairings. But the problem would be then when you brought out the infantry heroes afterwards, because if you brought the infantry heroes out afterwards, you already have the mage heroes that should be out to counter them. Most of the time, if you look, like, some heroes come out and then the next heroes are generally not better, but they're like, can either counter them or they're on as equal power, right, as them. So when you look at the counter table of, the 4 different unit types against each other, if you did that, mages are basically going to slap infantry. Infantry are going to get the new heroes come out, and everyone's basically going to say the infantry heroes are just trash, because obviously the mage heroes are out just killing them left, right, and center. So I do prefer it this way for the longevity, but I did hope, they would have brought some sort of mage hero, because, like you said, there is not many pairings out. And even, one step further, you mentioned Lilia, but that's for a spender, right? Imagine anyone else who's a free-to-play player. They don't even have Lilia, so they only get Valen, and then that's it. Maybe Fear, if you want to categorize Fear as well. But so then you've got those two, but then it's all epic commanders. You've got Wildeer, Alwyn, and Atheus as your only mage heroes that you've got in the game. So interesting take though on the new infantry commanders in the game. Are you excited?
Yeah, so I want to respond to. I agree and disagree with you, and I think that this is an easy fix. So, do I think they should have released mages first? Yes. Do I agree with you that the release of new champions should generally be able to be on par or counter the previous release? I also agree with you here. And to me, this is the easy fix. I knew that the dwarves weren't going to come out this soon because it's just too soon. I imagine that's going to be a Season 3 thing. And if we think about the fantasy world, what roles do dwarves normally play? They are usually magic resistant, and they're usually short and stubby and stubborn like rocks. So I think that what they should have done is they should have saved the infantry heroes to be dwarves, and they should have been released with the dwarven faction with some kind of buff that alleviates that natural weakness to that infantry have to magic, and this could be something specific to their race. As being a dwarf, you get a plus 50% magic resistance buff, because that would make sense. Dwarves in pretty much all fantasy and all games and Dungeons of Dragons and everything, the dwarven race usually has some kind of magic resistance. That's a known thing. So I think that I think that they didn't think far enough ahead with this, and it's just a bummer because, like I said, Madeline Garwood, in all different in PvE and PvP, they're just amazing. So, what are these two new infantry heroes going to do that my Madeline Garwood can't? Why? What is your justification? How are you going to convince me, the spender, me, the person that is making you money? How are you going to convince me to spend money on this when I already have Madeline Garwood? I just don't see it.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point, and I agree with you because, like, and it's funny because the guys in chat as well, they do agree with what you said here, and it does make sense, like, because that's what I assumed. I thought they might have brought out the Dwarven faction, and infantry would have been two Dwarven commanders, because what I would assume is, you know, they might have been leaking / hinting towards, you know, in the Season 2 trailer when you see the current king, right? The current king of the Frost clan of the Dwarfs, right? Like, maybe he would have been one of the infantry commanders, and he would have been, you know, like you say, magic resistant based, and then they would have brought another one out. So I do feel like they pulled the trigger too short on here, and I'm surprised they didn't even just bring out Dwarven commanders as, like, guys, you know, it gets you even more hyped. Even if they brought out Dwarven infantry heroes right now and didn't bring out the Dwarven faction, at least people would be like, okay, it is happening. Like, we are getting the Dwarf faction finally in the game, alright? So I'm just seeing if there's anything quickly in the chat. Have you got anything else you want to talk about with Call of Dragons, though?
That's everything that comes to mind. I'm just enjoying watching this giant war go down right now. I'm out of stamina, so I'm down for the count right now until my stamina returns on my primary marches. And yeah, you know, it's funny. So the point in Season 2 that we're at right now, we have just now had enough time to be able to get all of our 5 primary matches, the commanders and deputies, all to level 50. I think that I accomplished that the day before Zone 4 opened up. So we all it's like we all have revolvers. As soon as we spend our shot, we're in a waiting game now. I've got 1.2 million troops in the hospital and no stamina to kill the rest of my guys, so now I just gotta have fun and watch the rest of my people go to war without me.
It's funny. It's funny. Alright,
unless I want to send out some level 1 heroes, but I don't think I'm gonna go for that.
Definitely not. So then, I will let you get off so you can, if there is anything kicking off, you can go back to your leadership duties. We don't want to take you away from your alliance for too long. But I know everyone here in the chat has definitely had a good time here, and they've been following along. I don't see any questions at the moment for you, unless someone does put one in at the moment. But honestly, man, I want to say it's been a pleasure having you on the Scout Report, and obviously for supporting the channel as much as you've been doing, my friend.
Always good talking to you, man. Everybody out there, like and subscribe.
Thank you very much, dude. And that is it. That's going to be today's podcast on the Scout Report. We have had Meliodas from server 203, the HVC. He's been in war currently while we've been even doing this podcast, but I hope you guys have enjoyed it and basically heard the insights of basically one of the biggest spenders in the game, and, you know, one person that gives you know, it's a different point of view, right? Because most players that might be watching this might be free to play or a low spender. So hearing what someone else has to say that's in a different position to you, I think is always going to be interesting for anyone to go back and listen on. So if you want to be part of this Scout Report, again, just let you guys know this is done live on the channel. So hit the subscribe button and you will know when we go live for the next Scout Report. We do have another guest coming on, which is going to be fun, and that'll be on the Monday show. But until then, I want to say one last time, thank you very much, Meliodas, for having you here and spending your, time on this podcast, because obviously time is very precious to everyone. So until the next one, guys, I'll catch you later.
Thanks for having me, Mr. Sneaky. I'll see you next time.